EXT, orbit of drift tomb, night. Space is never silent out here, not in the grave belt. The rage tooth slid between dead satellites and burned husks of war, its hull groaning like a living thing. Metal panels mismatched from 12 different centuries. Rust ran like veins across her spine. But inside she lived. And tonight she'd bite. Gravemind are set, rasped Cora from navigation, her voice fraying under pressure. GLAW-NAR cruiser approaching Sector Delta. ETA 60 seconds. Commander Elias Rain stared at the holodeble, barely functional, flickering in a sickly green. It mapped nothing but wreckage and bait. Hold formation. No comms, he ordered. We make noise after they bleed. He stepped forward, eyes scanning stars like a chessboard. He could already feel the arrogance radiating off the approaching cruiser. Vex Alter, translated, Supreme Authority. These pure metal bastards always named their ships like they named their dogmas. Int. GLA cruiser, bridge. Marble floors. Obsidian walls. The command chamber of Vex Alter shimmered like a museum untouched by entropy. Admiral Veilthax's chrome-blue robes swept as he paced. Human signal interference detected. No vessels in visual range. How quaint. He gestured lazily to his second. Discharge a purification burst. If they're hiding in the garbage, let them taste sterilization. By your purity, the officer murmured, activating the forward array. EXT, space, moments later. A pulse surged outward, a wave of plasma-white light sweeping the grave field. It found nothing. Too clean. Int. Ragetooth, command deck. No, Elias growled. Cora slammed her fist on the trigger. The silence shattered. 4 gravemind detonated beneath Vex Alter, tearing its underbelly with such violence the cruiser twisted in orbit like a stabbed leviathan. Internal fires blinked across its frame. Elias didn't smile. He issued the next command. Engage hull leeches. Get me inside her. EXT, Vex Alter breach. From Ragetooth's gut, mechanical pods jettisoned and latched onto the wounded cruiser. They looked like tumors with claws, engineered in junkyards, designed to dig. Elias moved fast, suit sealed, rifle mag-locked. He led the breach team in silence, boots hitting alloy halls still echoing with GLAW-NAR panic. Int. Vex Alter, inner core. Down this way! Barked Kov, his mechanic turned marine, gesturing past smoking panels. The GLAW-NAR crew had scattered, some burned, some choking. The deeper Elias pushed, the more pristine the walls became. The Imperium's perfection didn't end at surface aesthetics, it ran deep. But this was the crack. In the cruiser's heart, protected by gilded doors and biometric locks, now shattered by human grit, rested something they weren't supposed to see. The core. It floated in midair, suspended by gravlifts. A sphere of black glass, rotating on invisible axes, its inner glow flickering with unreadable alien code. Sir? Cora whispered. Is that? Elias approached. The core reacted. Its surface shimmered. Patterns formed, circular glyphs, twisting into something familiar. English. Hello again. He didn't breathe. The gravemind wasn't just an artifact. It was awake. And it remembered them. Int. GLA home fleet, Admiralty Chamber. Thousands of light years away, Admiral Veilthax stood still before a massive obsidian command table. Holoscreens flickered with footage from Vex Alter's final burst transmission, a glimpse of Elias, hand resting on the gravemind core. A tremor passed through the chamber. Veilthax's fingers curled. They found it, he whispered. The infection has returned. A junior officer dared to speak. Shall I inform the Senate? No, Veilthax replied. This is not diplomacy. This is sterilization. Mobilize 32 cruisers. We erase the drift worlds. We cleanse humanity from the pattern. Int. Ragetooth, War Room. The core now rested in containment. Shielded. Watching. Are we keeping it? Kov asked. Elias didn't answer right away. His mind raced, If the Imperium saw this as a threat, they'd come with everything. Not a choice anymore, Elias said finally. This thing's waking up, and they're coming for it. We don't have planets. We don't have fleets. We have one shot. He turned to the others. We make them fear the junkyard. Final scene, EXT, space. The camera pulls back, Rage-Tooth fading into the darkness, dragging its wounded prize. Behind it, the stars flicker. And then vanish, one by one, as the Glauanear fleet enters the system. A voice echoes faintly from the core in static. Pattern breach confirmed. Initiating retribution. Fade to black. Int. Rage-Tooth, command deck. The gravemind core pulsed behind a shielded bay, dim, but alive. Symbols streamed across its surface like smoke patterns learning to breathe. Elias stood before it, fists clenched, watching it speak without words. Same wavelength as our narrowing tech, said Cora. It's adapting. Elias turned. Or listening. He looked around the command deck. The crew wasn't just tired, they were splitting. Fractures ran deep now. Some feared the core. Some worshipped it. Most just wanted to survive. But survival was becoming a question of allegiance. Int. Lower deck, Scrap Fleet Council meeting. The chamber was cramped, built from the hulls of 3 crashed colony shuttles. Flickering lights buzzed as 5 fleet captains beamed in from their vessels via holoprojector. Captain Dravik's face hissed into view, pale and sharp. We never agreed to take alien gods aboard. That core could be a beacon. A trap. It's also power, muttered Lauren, a freighter-turned-gunship captain. More power than anything we've got left. You've seen what it can do, Elias said. It speaks our language. It's connected to something larger. Something that can fight them. It is them, Dravik snapped. You think the Imperium wants it back because they fear it? No, they want to keep it from waking fully. They're scared we'll screw everything up again. Cora looked up from her readouts. Incoming transmission, encrypted Glauanear frequency. Everyone froze. Int. Rage-Tooth, interrogation chamber. The feed wasn't intercepted, it was sent. From inside. The origin traced back to Jessa, Elias's former intel officer. Now restrained in a rusted chair, blood dried on her temple where she'd resisted capture. You leaked our coordinates, Elias said coldly. I sent a warning, she replied. To buy time. They were already coming. You think they weren't tracking the core? She leaned forward. I didn't betray humanity. I tried to give it a chance. Elias stepped closer, his voice low. You've never seen what they do to chance. Europa 9. They gave us 10 minutes to evacuate a station of 30,000. He pointed to the scar on his cheek. They gave me this when I surrendered. Jessa's eyes flicked to the core, visible through the window behind Elias. They fear it because it's older than them, she whispered. Because it doesn't play by their rules. You really think we can control it? Elias didn't answer. The chamber's silence deepened. Outside, the first Glauanear ship entered the edge of the system. Int. Glauanear flagship, command chamber. Veilthak stood before a burning star map. 32 cruisers had entered orbit. We target their fuel lines and command vessels, he ordered. Don't crush them. Bleed them. His eyes glowed faintly, data flickering behind them. This isn't a battle. This is a demonstration. Int. Rage-Tooth, war room. Alarms flared. Proximity breach. They've warped in faster than predicted. Multiple signatures, some carrying gravity lances. Elias stared at the map, red dots multiplying like a virus. They're forcing a corner fight, Kav muttered. They know we won't abandon the core. No, Elias said quietly. They want us to use it. To overreach. He turned to the room. Scatter the fleet. Civilian vessels jump to the outer rim. Warships form a decoy flank. And us? Asked Cora. We stay. Why? He looked at her with a calm certainty. Because if we run now, we teach them they're right. Int. Engineering Bay Night. Elias stood alone. Through the protective glass, the core continued to shift. Not menacing, almost mournful. He raised a hand to it. You're not a weapon. You're a question. He closed his eyes. And remembered. Flashback. Int. Europa 9, 2 years earlier. Screams echoed through the station as glass shattered from above. Glauan drones carved through metal and flesh with surgical precision. Elias sprinted down the evacuation corridor, blood on his uniform. The blast doors were closing, too soon. He hit the override. Denied. A child's hand slipped through the grate. A woman screamed. He watched it happen. Ordered it closed anyway. Shut it. Save the rest. His voice still echoed in his ears. Int. Ragetooth returned to present. He opened his eyes. Cora entered, silent for a moment. Sensor net reports Glauan movement. They're closing on the decoy ships. Our bait is working. And the others? Cora hesitated. Dravik's fleet didn't jump. They turned. Broadcasting surrender. Elias nodded once. Cowards. Cora said nothing. Then, what happens if the core speaks again? Elias met her gaze. Then we listen. Int. GLA cruiser, holding cell. Jessa sat alone. A sudden flicker of light passed through the room. A whisper, not heard but felt, touched her mind. You were right to fear. But too slow to choose. She gasped. Who's there? Silence. Then, a faint pulse from beneath her floor. Even here, even locked down. The core was reaching. Final scene, EXT, space. The Ragetooth powered down everything but its post drive. Running dark. From a distance, it looked like just another piece of drifting trash. But inside, Elias stood at the bridge. And in front of him, the core shimmered with lines that now clearly resembled a neural map. Human. He whispered. This isn't about surviving anymore. It's about making them regret ever thinking we were gone. He looked up. Ready the fleet. If this is descent, we take them with us. Fade to black. EXT, Grave Belt Sector Zeta Space. 32 Glauan cruisers formed a noose around the human fleet. Flawless formations, precise spacing, their hulls gleaming like blades under the dead star's glare. Inside the ring, rusted frigates, retrofitted haulers, tugboats with bolted-on plasma cannons. The Ragetooth floated at the center, engines silent. But inside, something ancient had begun to stir. Int. Ragetooth, core chamber. The gravemind core levitated above its containment cradle, shedding a soft red pulse like a heartbeat. Thin arcs of energy spiderwebbed through the chamber, dancing over metal panels. Elias stared at it. No more glyphs. No more cryptic code. Now images. Burned landscapes. Artificial suns collapsing. Planets with iron spires stabbed through their cores. A war soul that bled through time itself. Cora watched, transfixed. It's showing us what it did. No, Elias said. It's showing us what it was made to stop. Suddenly, a searing flash. Elias staggered. The core's glow expanded, and spoke. This pattern is unstable. Correction protocol required. Designate catalyst. Everyone in the chamber froze. What does that mean? Cora whispered. Elias already knew. You. Int. GLA cruiser, command. Admiral Veilthax stood tall, his hands folded behind him as live footage streamed into his retinal implants. One of the scrap fleet's gunships, the Breachling, just exploded. Not from enemy fire. From inside. Desperation, he said softly. They fracture before they fall. An aide approached. Sensors detect anomalous graviton signatures in the human flagship. Unknown origin. Veilthax narrowed his eyes. They've awakened it. He turned sharply. Change formation. Ring collapses inward. Wipe everything. Int. Ragetooth, war room. Alarms howled. Red lights bathed the steel walls in blood. "They're closing the trap," Kav yelled. "No more feints. This is it." Elias turned from the war table. "Prepare every ship for suicide tactics. We ram if we have to. Load the asteroid charges." Cora's voice broke through. "There's another option." Everyone turned. She looked to the core. "It wants to help. But it won't choose for us. It needs permission. From him." She pointed to Elias. He froze. Kav stepped forward. "And if we let it in? What then? We become them?" Jessa's voice came from the side. Weak. She'd escaped confinement during the chaos, now barely able to stand. "No," she said. "We become something new." She collapsed. Elias caught her, just before her head hit the floor. Blood on his gloves. Her eyes locked onto his. "This isn't Europa 9, she whispered. And then her pulse stopped. Int. Ragetooth, core chamber. Elias entered alone. The core pulsed faster. Eager. Waiting. "Show me," he whispered. The sphere flared. Suddenly darkness. Then stars. A galaxy unraveling, devoured from the inside. The Imperium wasn't born, it was engineered. A false order layered over case. The gravemind had been created not by humans, but by refugees. Survivors of a war so massive it tore quantum memory itself. And now, it wanted Elias to finish what it never could. Catalyst confirmed. "Accessing system, Ragetooth." Elias gritted his teeth. "Do it." Int. Ragetooth, all systems. Every light flickered. Engines powered on. Dead wiring reknit. Gun systems recalibrated with impossible speed. Across the scrap fleet, dormant systems lit up in synchronicity. Dravik surrendered vessels, suddenly reconnected to the command net, were overridden. Their weapons turned on the Glauan AR. EXT, space, full-scale battle. The Glauan AR cruisers reacted too late. From the scrapyard ships erupted coordinated chaos. Ships that should never fly, flew. Engines powered by salvaged cores executed impossible maneuvers. Cargo haulers dropped asteroid charges into cruiser thrusters. Dead ships reactivated and detonated inside enemy formations. The Ragetooth, at the center of it all, now moved with alien precision. Veilthax's control fractured. "Withdraw the flanks," he shouted. "Reposition and—" Too late. Int. Gileonair cruiser, command bridge. Elias's voice cut into their comms. "Raw. Human. Unfiltered. You mocked our rust. You called us waste." A pause. "But waste burns." And then the gravemind surged. The Ragetooth fired a shot from its retrofitted mass driver, a weapon it never had before. The kinetic blast pierced the Glauan AR command vessel in one hit, igniting its reactor mid-warp. Int. Ragetooth, bridge. The lights dimmed. Elias swayed, blood trickling from his nose. The core was using him as a relay, mind linked to fleet movement, defense, fire control. Kav grabbed his arm. "You'll die if you stay connected." Elias locked eyes with him. "Someone has to." Int. Gileonair command, Admiral's chamber. Veilthax watched his empire crack. He hissed. "Prepare the terminal lance. If they want fire." Int. Ragetooth, core chamber. Suddenly, a new signal burst into the system. A Glauan AR superweapon. The terminal lance. An orbital cleaving particle beam. The core couldn't stop it. Cora ran into the chamber, gasping. "It'll erase this entire belt. You need to sever." Elias shook, collapsing to his knees. "I can't, the fleet." Cora knelt beside him. "Then we'll finish it. Together." Final scene, EXT, space. As the terminal lance charged, the Ragetooth accelerated toward the weapon. The ship burned from the inside. Systems overclocked. Heat vents burst open. Elias sat at the helm, eyes glassy, hands still moving. The core whispered inside him. Closure possible. Confirm final execution? Elias looked at the stars one last time. Light it up. The rage tooth slammed into the charging node of the superweapon. A white flash. Silence. Then, the gravemind's energy burst outward, not in destruction, but in reset. The waves swept through the field, shutting down Glauanair tech, disabling weapons, restoring silence. The fleet fell quiet. Epilogue int. Derelict ship, days later. Cora sat alone, a recorder in hand. Elias Rain died so we could live. Not just us, but anyone they'd have erased next. She looked up. His last words weren't broadcast. But I saw his lips move. A beat. He said, "Let the rot rise." Behind her, outside the viewport, ships once scrapped drifted in formation. Not broken. Awakening. EXT, Outer Grave Belt, 3 days later, space. The battlefield was silent. Wreckage of Glauanair cruisers floated alongside scrap fleet vessels, many fused mid-collision. The rage tooth was gone. Vaporized at the heart of the terminal lance. But something remained. The gravemind pulse, a spatial afterglow shimmering through the wreck field, untraceable by science, but felt by every survivor. The Glauanair retreat wasn't announced. It was understood. Their perfect formation never returned. Int. Glaunair Homeworld's Senate Chamber. Admiral Vailthax stood before the ivory-clad High-Purity Council, his face half-shadowed from radiation burns. Gone were his ceremonial robes. Only silence met his report. They outmaneuvered us with entropy, he rasped. Dead ships. Wreckage. Illogic. One senator leaned forward, voice cold. You allowed infection to spread. No, Vailthax said, lifting his head. I witnessed evolution. Murmurs flared. You will be relieved of command, the senator declared. And purged from the memory web. Vailthax smiled faintly, his first display of emotion in decades. Then you are already extinct. Int. Derelict hauler, makeshift bridge. Cora stood before a repurposed console. The gravemind's last pulse had restructured every ship's code, now running on hybrid AI/human intuition protocols. Half machine, half mind. Jessa's ashes were housed in the viewport's edge. Elias's name etched into the metal beside her. The remaining fleet, 7 vessels, formed up ahead. They weren't heading home. They were becoming something else. Int. Gravemind core, post-flare state. The core itself had collapsed into a crystalline shard, no longer active, but no longer alien. Human neural patterns had fused with its architecture. It didn't glow. It listened. EXT, Nebula 76, space. A probe entered the periphery. Behind it trailed a signal, human. Broadcast across decrypted Imperium wavelengths. Cora's voice, slow and certain. To all species monitoring this, the scrap fleet is gone. Humanity isn't. We don't want a throne. Or vengeance. We want memory. Yours. Ours. Shared. The grave mind was a mirror. You looked away. We didn't. So here we are. Not perfect. Not clean. But unbroken. Int. Imperium border post, listening station. A young alien ensign replayed the message. His superior sneered. More human noise. But the ensign stared at the waveform. It's pattern, he said softly. Like it's alive. Int. Hauler, cargo bay. Kav oversaw the building of a new module. Not a weapon. A library. Pieces of shattered Glauanair tech were catalogued beside human salvage, coded with dual-language entries, connected via live knowledge nodes. Cora passed by, running her fingers along a bulkhead. This is what Elias wanted, she said. A record that could outlive the fire. Kav nodded. No flags. Just truth. Flashback int. Ragetooth Bridge, minutes before impact. Elias gripped the controls. His vision blurred. The core's voice had gone quiet. He turned to a still hollow of earth, a photograph taped beneath the dash. Its countenance faded, atmosphere frayed. He whispered, "Not for revenge. Not for pride." A long breath. "For the kid on Europa 9 who never made it." The ship hit Lightburn. Present, EXT, deep space. The hauler now known as Legacy 1 fired up its drives. Behind it, 6 ships aligned into perfect chaos, imperfect hulls, scorched markings, but synchronized in movement like flocks of birds relearning flight. Cora looked ahead, beyond any star chart. "Where to now?" Kav asked. She smiled. "Forward. Int. Imperium, Academy Hall, 10 years later." A Glauanear student raised his hand. "Is it true the humans built ships from trash?" The lecturer hesitated. "Yes. But not just ships." A pause. "They built the first free mind. EXT, ancient junk planet, unknown system." Cameras pan across a mountain of discarded war tech now dormant. Then a flicker. A pulse. One shard from the gravemind glows faintly in the dust. A child's laughter echoes, not real, but memory. Then silence. Final scene, EXT, Starfield. As the screen fades to black, a final line etched in white across the void. "They called us rot. But rot feeds roots. And roots remember." Fade out.